So, what's the story?
So I am separated
Mm-hmm.
and moved back into my house on Tuesday under the advice of an attorney because
Right.
I haven't seen my daughter or any of my children.
Mm-hmm.
And I got off work earlier at 3 o'clock and, got home. We got there at like 3:30. My mother-in-law was there. I talked with her a little bit. Our daughter Melody wasn't there like I expected. She's homeschooled in summer anyway.
How old is she?
13. She turned 13 in February.
Right.
And so I parked a block away, then walked over. We live out in the country. We live 10 minutes north of Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
But then after a while talking with my mother-in-law, I said, well, I'll go get my car. It wasn't a good thing. So the people who brought my daughter, she was out seeing a movie with friends, drove up in the driveway, and I drove up after. I didn't know who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, you can turn around. I didn't see my daughter was in the back of the truck. They had colored glass. And so I just started kind of turning around like that, and I opened the door, and there's my daughter Melody. Okay, so when I left on March 27th, before Memorial Day, I was gone for 66 days.
Mm-hmm.
We had a fun kind of relationship. We'd go jump on the trampoline. She'd say, Dad, let's play a board game.
Mm-hmm.
I am a touchy-feely dad. I hug my kids. I give them a kiss on the cheek every night. I look them in the eye. I tell them I love you. So I've been doing that since they've been born. And I didn't do it because I read it in a book. I do it because that's how I feel. And so, and we were texting on Hangouts back and forth for a good week or so after I left. And I'm looking forward to seeing you, and we can go do something fun soon. She goes, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I can even show you. And so when I left, I was having problems with my now 18-year-old son and my 21-year-old daughter, and arguing a bit with my wife because of the problems from them. But with her, everything was great.
Okay.
So when she saw me, she goes, no, Dad, no, I can't, I just can't. And she was freaking out. And I'm like, wow. So the lady said, I don't know what's going on. And I started explaining, well, I don't know. I'm just going to go. And then she backed out and left. And so that was Tuesday. So I was hoping to, I talked to her, everything would be calm and nice. I didn't expect that. And then my daughter would come home at 4:45 from work. She works over here at the book company in Chelsea, and talk with her. And I invited a lady who I've been living with, a couple. She's 62, mother of 9 kids, and she knows her from church, to come. And she had come, so she could be there and say, hey, I've been talking with Mike, and just, I'll be calm. And then my wife, who's going to see a therapist in Ann Arbor, would be home at like 8 o'clock, and then talk to her. And, I'm back, and I expected her probably to leave, but hopefully maybe not. But because my lawyer said, Michael, legally you have abandoned your home, and no judge will look upon you favorably. And another guy from church who I was living with for a few days, him and his wife, he got divorced, and he left voluntarily for a while like that, and that actually hurt him. And he goes, Mike, yeah, and he was encouraging me, you abandoned the home. And it wasn't for violence. She didn't have to get a restraining order. It was because I was getting upset.
Right.
And so I moved back. So, of course, the lady took off. So Melody then notified my wife. So then about 45 minutes later, she shows up with the sheriffs and my daughter to get their stuff and leave. Because that's all they can do. They can't make me leave.
Right.
So they left, and that was Tuesday.
Okay.
My wife...
That was,
And so that's been this week. And okay, so last week I got a lawyer.
So that was last Tuesday then?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not been 7 days. Tomorrow will be 7 days. So I had no contact. When she asked me to leave, there was no preconditions. Here's what happened. So I had a sales job. For 10 years I was an applications engineer for Polytech. They're just down the street, the yellow sign, if you've seen them on Baker Road. And but I was traveling 7,500 nights a year as an applications engineer around the country doing demos, trainings, and measurement services using laser vibrometers. And but a recruiter contacted me about a sales job selling this data acquisition hardware and software, and I thought I could do that. And so I quit the job at Polytech. I really didn't like my boss. He was an arrogant German who would like to yell at people. And I took that job, and found out it is really hard to be a sales guy. I had to sell
Right.
$120,000 a month, and the national
Right.
sales manager said, well, just call existing customers and try and get appointments to meet them. And existing customers, engineers, call them up. Hey, I'd like to stop by. I'm the new sales guy. I'd like to meet you. Shake your hand. And then they're like,
Right.
I'm busy.
Right.
I'm happy with what I got. Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And so I lost 27 pounds. It was a fantastic weight loss. And not only this, I had like this tightness in my chest here, so much so that, and I've never experienced it in my life, I went and got an EKG. Well, I went and told the doctor, and they said, well, let's take an EKG. And I was fine. And they go, you're just stressed.
Yeah, it's anxiety.
Yeah. And I found out that's why the ancient Greeks and Romans and all them thought that this is where emotions come from, because when you're really stressed, that's what hurts. That's been back for 50 days.
Okay.
When I got fired from that job last November, it went away, and I was unemployed for 5.5 months, which was stressful, but not in the same way. I didn't have this. But yeah, after, so I, being at home salesman, working at a home office, and then stressed. I didn't handle my interactions with my teenage children well and my wife well. And
Okay.
I'm being absolutely humble. I'm
Sure,
not prideful
right.
at all. And we have a 19-year-old son too. He's now in the Army. And he just graduated boot camp, and he's in medic school down in Texas. So, yeah. I was unemployed. We had health coverage through the state of Michigan, and she said, you should go talk to a counselor. So I found one, a Christian psychologist in Ann Arbor. Went and talked to her, and I said, I don't want to feel upset. I don't want to feel angry anymore. And she goes, it's okay to be angry. I get angry. I yell at my kids. It's fine. And okay. So I'm working with her, and then after 4 weeks, I said again, well, I don't want to feel upset. I don't want to feel angry. And she goes, I can tell this is not working. We need to try something different. Let's get your wife in here. And so I brought her in for the next appointment, and my wife tells her how I'm getting upset. And then she turns on me, and she's like, oh, you don't have an adult side to you. You can't relate. And she's really, and she's speaking in absolute statements. And I have a record of the whole thing, a recording. And so this isn't just me. I reviewed it afterward because I wanted to learn. But then as I was listening to it, I was like, holy cow. At the very end of the session, she was having this, she goes, well, we got to have this talk back session. So your wife's going to tell you how she feels, and you're going to repeat back to her. Okay, and I did that. And then she goes, well, ask your wife, tell me more. And I said, okay, tell me more. And then she told me more, and I repeated back to her, and I said, and I agree. And she goes, we don't give a shit what you think right now. You just need to repeat back what she's saying. And I didn't respond. But
Right.
Now, having listened to it a few times, I'm like, that's abusive. And so, and then she goes, well, we got to have an appointment next week. So we made another appointment. And then she, at that one, says, okay, I'm going to send you, Mike, to see this dialectical behavioral therapist for mindfulness training. And Mary Catherine, you're going to go see this Heather one. And so my wife contacted us, okay, and we had some talks. And then my wife had, that woman was full. And so Michelle Wolf said she'd take care of it. Well, Michelle Wolf then told me, your wife's asking me questions and I can't answer them. Can you sign this form?
Right.
And I signed the form, and then she told my wife, I've got borderline personality disorder, and she said, you need to make a move out now. And so my wife started acting freaking frigid to me, cold as ice, and, just unloving. Okay, I've been taking care of her mother, my mother-in-law, for 9 years. She's 87. I invited her into the home when her husband, who was a dictator, my wife's dad, said, oh, if you get medical treatment, you might as well leave. And so she was living with a neighbor, and this is out in the Chicago area. And I said, Mom, come and live with us. We're family. It is our obligation to take care of you, and we love you. So, and then the dad died about a year later. So we would take care of her. So she sent her mother away to go live with her brother for a week. And then she was supposed to come back on a Saturday, and and then she said, oh, Mom's not going to come back this week. I told her to stay another week. I emailed her, and I'm like, what? That never happens. It's, you set a schedule, she's got her medicine, she's got her doctor's appointment, that never happens. So I open up her computer. I don't have anything to hide. She can see my emails. I open it up, and I saw, this weekend is going to be very disruptive. You better not come back. And then I look at some previous emails, and Michelle Wolf says, have you remembered what I strongly urged you to make him move out now? And so, and then that was like on a Wednesday, and I said, Mary Catherine, I don't want to move out, and why don't you move out? I said, that makes me very sad. And she wasn't going to tell me. She was going to hit me with it. And then I said, I met her in church. We're longtime church members, and I said, will you go talk to George Kelly, go talk to Pastor before you do this kind of stuff? And she actually saw this counselor, George Kelly. I don't know what all they talked about. Of course, he can't say because of the privacy agreements. I've seen him about 15 times since then, and he won't allude to anything. But then, and believe me, I agree, I wasn't constructive in my use of anger. I'm not saying I was a perfect. I wasn't saying I was full-time bad. And so then she because I was, now I just started a job, but I wasn't employed. She was going to have to go back to work. She has her teaching degree and her master's in library science, but she hasn't worked for the last 22 years because I've been providing for her. Right. And we've raised 4 kids, and she homeschooled them. And then, so she was working as a cashier at Lowe's over here in near Ann Arbor. She came back from work on Saturday, and I'd had a little bit of a disagreement with Grace or argument. She didn't get up till like 11:30 that Saturday morning, and I said, she said, I've been having problems sleeping. I said, reading can sometimes help you go to sleep. And she said, yeah, I was reading this book from the Puritans on marriage. I'm like, that's good. It probably had higher level words. And she goes, no, it didn't have higher level words. And I went, okay. Did they have 6th grade words? No, they weren't 6th grade words. Were they adult words? Yeah, they were adult words. Okay, so now you're arguing with me. Higher level adult. And she goes, well, logically, if your premise is flawed, then your conclusion is flawed. She took a course on logic. She went. She graduated Washington Community College. She's 21. And so she's nitpicking with me, and finally, and we're at our dining room table, and so I'm about this distance from her. She's over there, and I'm at the head of the table, and she's at the side. And finally I say, Grace, come, just forget it, stop. She acted like I just shot and killed someone in front of her. She went, because she had been talking with my wife, and Mom is telling her I'm mentally ill with this border, and I'm like, I was totally stunned. I'm like, what? Why are you reacting that way? I said, I didn't mean to scare you. I just meant to, because I was here on the table like this. So she came home, and first thing my wife talked to Grace outside, and then came in and said, you're going to a hotel tonight, and I'm taking Melody and Grace, our 13-year-old, and we're going to a restaurant, and you're going to be gone. And she did, gone. And then I called one of our elders from our church, who's in Canada, and talked to him and said, call her and talk to her. And he called back and says, Mike, you need to go. And I said, okay, I'll go. And then
when was this?
March 27th, Saturday, right before Memorial Day. And I told her, I said, I realize I'm getting upset over things, and it's not healthy. And so I told her, well, if you ask me to go, I will go, but I'm not happy. But I didn't expect it to be what it became. When the next day, so I went and got a hotel. The next day we went to church. After church, she gets in the pastor's office with the 4 other elders, so there's 5 of them. And they didn't invite me in. So she's telling them stuff, and I don't know what she's saying. And I realized that afterward. I'm not always quick on the spot with thinking things through. And so they come out and said, okay, you can go live with Ben Wold for the next few days. He's a retired guy from Ford. He's got a real nice house, him and his wife in Northville. So okay. I lived with them for the next few days, and I'm working at this new job now. I started like 2 weeks before that, and then I was working like late until 10 o'clock at night sometimes. And then on Friday, I had to move out, and they said, you can go live with this other elder's parents, and nice people, live with them for the next few days. And then it was, you're going to go stay in this cheap hotel here in Farmington. And I look up the reviews, it's like $300 a week, and it smells like cigarettes and cockroaches, and I'm like, oh. And so I found another couple in church. I contacted them. Can I come live with you? Like, sure, Mike, come on. And after a few days, then they said, they became uncomfortable with me living there. But, and I've known him for quite a few years. We've been going to this church since 2006. Oh, I met my wife in this church, and this pastor is the one who married us. We left in 99 and went to Metamora, and we're at a sister church. It's a city, little village in Lapeer County. And then we came back in 2006. We've been here 11 years. So, and then he said, Mike, sorry, you'll have to leave in a couple days. And okay, so
you have to leave what?
Leave in a couple days. So they were
Okay,
like, they weren't proposing. I could have gone to a cheap hotel. So then I contacted another couple I know, and they're older, retired with no kids, and he's a music director, a music teacher at the church, and he's a retired teacher from Ypsilanti, music teacher, and his name's Alan, and he goes, well, we don't have room for you now, we're about to go on vacation, but this other couple who's 5 houses down, who's part of the church, they have room for you. Their mother just died, and she was living with them, and so this bathroom. So I came and lived with them for a couple weeks, but they said, okay, then we're going to...
So are these different people that you lived with, do they comprise the 67 days that you were gone? Okay. So you first left home then on March 27th, did you say? And you didn't come back until when?
Tuesday. 66 days.
Just a week ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
And so I lived with them for like a week and a half, and then they were going on vacation to see one of the kids because they got 9 kids, and so I had to leave because I have a 26-year-old daughter in the house, and so I went and stayed with Alan, and that was really good. He's been through a divorce, and when I started talking to him, he goes, Mike, because I left the home voluntarily, that was bad. You have a band in the home. You got to get back in there. And but I didn't do it. I kept holding out. So the reason my wife, I don't know what all the reasons why, but okay, so I agree I didn't handle some things well. After I moved out, I was gone for that week, and then I came back the next Sunday, and I'm expecting my wife there, and we can talk. I mean, I want to talk.
Right.
And she wasn't there. It was just Grace, our 21-year-old daughter, and Melody, Ben, our 18-year-old son, are about to turn 18. He turned 18 beginning of June, and I wasn't invited to that party. My mother-in-law was coming back that weekend, so my wife's brother has 9 kids, and the 2 older ones, or 2 of them, brought grandma back, and so I talked with them. But during church, okay, here's, and I'm realizing, as you know, preconditions can make your stress level, make your triggers easier. If you just won the lottery, people can trigger you, and you're happy.
Right.
I walked into the Sunday school room where Grace and Melly were going to teaching the kindergartners. I said, hey, Melly, good to see you, give you a hug. And she said, Mommy, Daddy, Mommy says you're sick. And I really didn't think about it until just talking with Alan again, but I was like, that probably really raised my, already, higher stress level. So then during worship service, Gracie has a good voice. She took private lessons, and her mother's a great singer too, and was in choir in college. Alan asked her to go to sing during the between Sunday school and church. There's a half an hour from 10:30 to 11. She had planned on, because there was a meal after church where everyone's invited. She had the special egg dish and muffins to cook up. She didn't get a chance to cook it. She was practicing singing.
Okay.
So then during worship service, she went to go cook. And you can hear it. They have this back eating area, but they also have the audio coming. Okay. And I apologize. I am overzealous. I am a committed Christian. I'm not always a perfect practicing one. In fact, I'm often quite not meeting up to what I would expect a Christian should be. Okay. I'm honest, but I do acknowledge things of where I want to be. And in the New Testament, Paul tells Timothy in the book of Timothy, preach the word. That's a pastor's main function. Then I feel my and I heard a commentary on this. Some pastor on the radio says our main function is to listen to the word. And so I remember hearing someone comment on a book that the Puritans wrote, because they had sermons for hours back then. Don't let your mind wander. That's a sin. You need to really be focused. He's there preaching God's word. You need to hear it. And so when Grace did that, I'm like, Grace, you're purposely distracting yourself. It's only 20 minutes or half an hour that our preachers preach. You need to focus. She's like, no. It's just like being in nursery. I'm like, no. That nursery's kind of a act of necessity. Like if your ox is in a ditch, you can pull that out on a Sabbath. I'm just a normal Presbyterian. I'm not a whatever strict whatever. But I said, Grace, no, really, no, it's just nothing. And she wasn't even looking at me, and still getting things, and I didn't handle that well. And I said, Grace, this is, you absolutely are wrong. And I said, but I was responsible for counting the money, the offering with another guy, so I gotta go. Well, that was another negative. That's how I get express my anger. I don't get close to somebody. I don't hit them. I don't touch them. I verbally do it. And so, and that's wrong, and I shouldn't do it. And I've learned that in the last 66 days that I have more healthy ways to express it, because if I love you and I disagree with you, I'm going to express something in a way that you feel valued. But I can clearly communicate something with tact, and I confess I have failed. So that happened. And then, so I haven't seen Melody in a week, and I had to count, so I couldn't eat.
She's your 13-year-old?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I, after coming back from counting, talked with the cousins a little bit, being polite, since I don't see them but once a year, once every couple of years. And then the mealtime was kind of over, and so they kind of gave me like, Grace, I've been out of the house for a week. I really miss seeing Melody. I mean, I've been seeing her every day of my life, except for when I was traveling at Polytech. And she goes, well, Grandma said she's ready to go. She's my mother-in-law is a doormat. She just says, I'm ready to go. She's not like, I'm ready to go. Grace was probably offended because of my anger earlier, and probably the stress of the situation. 21-year-old. And she's probably, because she's being told Dad's sick. So I pulled her into a Sunday school room because it was quiet. We're out in the main hallway, and little kids, she does nursery, and so they're all calling, playing with her, and they love her, and I love her too. So I pulled her in there just for some quiet, and she goes, Grandma said she's ready to go. And her other friend from Canada told one of the other elders, you got to go in there. He pulled her in there because she's probably told her, I'm mentally ill. You need to go. And so one of the elders came, and he goes, what, Mike? That she said they're ready to go. He even did that yesterday. When we were talking to all the elders, he gets vocal like that, and I actually left the room because I said, calm down. I've learned, it's just, if something's upset, just walk away, go get a drink of water, and then come back. And I said, I haven't seen my daughter all week. I just want to spend a few minutes with her. Mike, they're ready to go. Fine, go. He's making a scene. And so my wife then comes to the evening service, and I came, of course, because I'm single and I'm out of the house. And she sits about 6 feet apart from me, and I guess she was upset about what I did with Grace, not justifying it. And then, so then after service, we're kind of waiting for Ralph to come over, because obviously he knows the situation. And another woman approaches, Bernice. I ended up living with her and her husband. They were the third person I lived with. She was a social worker. I thought they had degrees in psychology. I was under the false impression that, they're working mentally with these people too. She's a clerk. She had no training. So I didn't know that. So when she came over, I honestly said, sorry, Bernice, I've been kicked out of the house. We're going to talk to Ralph. And then she goes, what? That's your castle. How can you be kicked out of your house? And I did not expect that reaction out of her. I expected her to say, well, I hope you're learning your lesson, Mike. Honest to God, I swear to God. And then my wife said, because I didn't expect that, Catherine said, my wife's Mary Catherine, she goes by her first and middle, because her mother's Southern in North Carolina, and her mother's name is Mary, and she always thought Mary Catherine was a nice name. So she goes, I'd rather not talk about it right now. And that was appropriate, of course, and I said, I'm sorry. But then Ralph came over, we talked some, and I don't know what we even talked about, but then there was no contact at all for that week. And then I came back I was now living with the Wags, the third family, and they have a boat, and they were going to do something, and I said I needed a big hat to keep the sun off my face. Could you please bring it? I was texting her before church, and she goes, we're not coming to church. Your behavior last Sunday night, I've decided not to come to church. She didn't she didn't warn me. She didn't say, we didn't like that, will you stop that? Like Matthew 18, Jesus said, if you have a problem with someone, go to them and be reconciled. She didn't do that. And then she goes, and we had said that, one thing we said that Sunday evening is, next week, will you bring the family with food and we'll eat here, have some positive experience? Okay, we will. But then she said, no, we're not going to have any contact until the end of July, and then I'll think about talking to you.
This is your wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll think about contacting you. And I said, can we go to the movies or something? No recreational contact, no positive contact, nothing. No emails. We got to learn to breathe and live apart from you. And I went, what? and she's been going to this other.
So are you currently living in your home?
Yep, and they all
alone?
left. Yep.
So your 21-year-old daughter, your 18-year-old son, your 13-year-old daughter, but you have another child, don't you?
He's in the Army.
Oh, okay. So how old is he?
19.
Okay. So you're not. Oh, that's right. He's in Texas living. Yeah. Okay.
So Grace.
Yeah.
Melody, our 13-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin. He's living with a good guy. He's a pastor of a church that's starting up.
Mm-hmm.
It's been doing it for a few years.
This is your 18-year-old.
Yeah, Benjamin. Okay. He has a buddy from football,
mm-hmm.
and his dad's a pastor. He was a
mm-hmm.
computer scientist,
mm-hmm.
but he
mm-hmm.
switched. And so my son Ben, sadly, he has a lot of hatred and
mm-hmm.
resentment in his heart, and he has for a lot of years, and you can tell. And so it's actually better than, it's the best place for him to be living.
Mm-hmm.
He stole my car last Thursday.
Oh, really?
I woke up, came out to the garage, it's gone, and the old red van that I've been letting him drive that was mine, I had to buy a new car as a sales guy because they don't want you driving around a rusty, crummy car. And I went, holy cow. And as you know, new cars have the GPS tracking with the OnStar.
Okay.
It didn't work. He's slick. He pulled the fuse for that system. And so my wife said, oh, he's staying at the Grembans. I called then Pastor Gremban. I found his number on the website. And he goes, yeah, I wonder why that white car showed up last night or this morning. And so I said, I'm coming there to get it. Will you get the key from him? And then I called the sheriff just as a safety thing because he outweighs me by 30 pounds, you know. And I came, and he handed me the keys, and Pastor made him tell me, I'm sorry. It's like kindergarten or like elementary school one kid said, I'm sorry. You can tell he absolutely didn't mean it. And, will you forgive me? But that's a different issue. And so then I didn't give him the keys back to the van.
You did?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
I had it towed away, and I have it in a mechanic shop, and I said, as far as I'm concerned, you have lost your privilege. I need to rebuild trust. And Pastor Dave thought that was kind of harsh. He goes, well, he can't get to football or his job or school. He's actually going to ECA at Ypsilanti. He's been attending that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, there's got to be some consequences. Yeah, that's just a 5-year felony to steal a car. Where was I back with the family? I'm the only one there. When I came into the house.
Hold on. So where is your wife and your 3 kids living then?
With one of the elders. My wife is living with one of the elders with our 13-year-old. Maybe Grace is living there too. Benjamin's living
with
the pastor.
Okay.
And so she. So when Melody alerted her, she came back with the sheriffs. No talking. I said, Mary Catherine, I love you, and she's refused to meet with a marriage counselor this whole time. No talking. And until the end of July. So after talking to the lawyer last week and understanding I'm in a weak position, and he goes, the only way I can get a judge to order visitation is if you move back in the home and she takes the kid out. Then we can get a judge's order to have the child return to the family home because this is traumatic to have a child live apart from the home like this. And so I said, okay. So I moved back Tuesday. Oh, yeah, and I've been talking... for the last month, I've lived with this other couple, Colleen and Jim, and they have 9 kids. And Colleen is great, and she read a book called Boundaries. You ever heard that book? And Boundaries, it's about they have Christian psychologist authors, but the point is Boundaries is on self-control, establishing your boundaries, what's your control. And he says it's like a fence around your yard. This is my yard. That's your yard. You take care of your yard, and I'm going to take care of my yard. And so I also know that I was not doing that right. I was overstepping my boundaries and getting into other people's boundaries. My daughter, 21-year-old, and I was wrong, and my 17-year-old. And so the complaints against me are too controlling and anger. And I have worked on those. I've read this. In fact, I got in the car. I should have brought up Boundaries in Marriage. And I understand if I'm overstepping my boundaries, I'm confessing. I agree, and I'm not. I'm happy with letting my. She's living at home still, and we let her stay at home. She got a job over here at Zuzu's in Chelsea.
You mean your 21-year-old?
Yeah, and so she got scholarships to pay for college, but it was for gas money.
Okay.
But I want to know: honest to God, do I have borderline personality disorder? I know it's rare.
I can't make that determination right now because that's not one that I would deign to try to determine in just one visit. Okay, So I would have to spend some time with you. I'd have to also know something about your history in terms of how you grew up and what your relationships were like with your family and other people in your life. So at this point, I can't even begin to say anything about that, except that I'm not getting the normal vibes that I get when I'm dealing with someone who has borderline personality disorder. Okay. Now, you've used the word over-controlling a lot, or overstepping your boundaries a lot, and I think in order for us to see if this relationship is going to work, you probably need to hear a little bit about my philosophy in terms of parenting and families and kids. And I do a lot of work with parents, and I do a lot of work with parenting and also working with kids too, to help them to understand what their responsibilities are in life. I don't necessarily tell parents what to do, okay? But I know something about child development, and I know what kids require if they're going to grow up being healthy, okay? And so some of the things that you would do for a child at age 5, you do differently, obviously, when they're 15 or 13 or whatever. But I will say this overall. I think that even when our children are in their early 20s, middle 20s, they still need to see us and to relate to us as parents. We still have a lot to offer them. At that age, when they start getting into their middle to late teens, it's less about making decisions, for them, or setting hard boundaries. But still, we have a role in terms of setting appropriate boundaries, appropriate limits. Okay, so I'm going to need to hear more about specifically what happened in these moments, because you've told me little stories about how supposedly you overstepped your boundary, and I have to say, Michael, I haven't heard anything that really. Maybe your voice was too loud, but I've seen plenty of parents who shout at their kids, and nobody's looking at them like you're being, an abusive parent. Okay.
That is exactly that word. My wife has said that like 50 times. We had to have you because you are so abusive. Yeah. And she's repeating, and that's what she tells the elders, and that's why they're like, oh my goodness, he's a Hitler. Get him the heck out of here.
I'm a little dismayed that people are not, that determinations are being made about either one of you, your wife or you, without people having much more, what's the word I want to use? Much more actual information about what's going on. It sounds like it's being presented largely from one side more than another.
Yes.
Okay, and I think, especially when we're talking about people who are counseling other people, you need to be my personal opinion is you need to be very careful that you don't necessarily give one side more weight than the other. Okay, that to me that typically isn't helpful.
If I'm abusive, I do want to know it.
Sure, and guess what? If you tell me things, or if I start hearing or observing behaviors that sound as though you're abusive, I'll tell you that. Okay. But right now, it sounds like maybe you've been extra tense. Maybe you've been even too loud.
Impatient.
Okay. Maybe you've been impatient, but none of those things are setting off any bells in my head that says this guy is a mess.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like because of the job changes that you were going through, life was pretty stressful for you. Okay?
And compounded because I was home all the time.
Yeah,
too.
and most people, and this has happened a bazillion and one times, is that parents, when they come home from a very stressful day at work, they tend to transfer that energy over to their family. Oftentimes knowing that that's not what they want to do, they can't help themselves, but they do. And so usually when they're coming to see me, they're trying to learn, how can I avoid doing that? And by the way, not with me saying, well, you have to learn how to not be mad, or you have to learn how to not be anxious. No, that to me, that's not helpful. What I think is more helpful is to recognize, what am I anxious about, or what am I angry about, and then what do I do with that? Okay.
Yes.
And obviously, one of the things, I mean, I don't think I've ever heard a parent say, well, obviously, if I'm really, really anxious, I should then turn around and just spread that anxiety all over my kid. Nobody says that, okay? Or, yeah, I'm really, really anxious and I'm really mad about what's happening at work, so I'm going to go home and really let my kids have it. No parent says that. So obviously, once you stop and you start thinking, yeah, I notice, here I am, I've only been home for 2 minutes, and I'm jumping out of my skin. So I need to do something about that. Take a walk, go to my man cave, sit down and have a glass of water, cup of milk, go journal, play a video game, whatever, to take care of yourself. Okay, so. That's, for me, that's where the focus needs to come, is for you to learn how to monitor what's going on with you. So, again, using that example with your daughter, if you're finding out that in your exchanges with her, you're starting to become more irritable or upset, that you recognize that. Now, notice, though, here's one of the things that I do, which is I don't think there's anything wrong with giving feedback to your kids saying, honey, I've tried to talk to you about this or give you answers, but you don't seem to be hearing me, and I'm finding myself getting frustrated. So I'm wondering, you getting frustrated too? Because that's not good for us. So how about we start over and do it a different way, okay? But here's one caveat, though. You are the dad. Mm-hmm. And as far as I'm concerned, it's okay to say to your daughter she was not paying attention in church, to say, honey, I'm not trying to tell you specifically what to say, but something like, honey, one of the reasons why we bring you to church is because we want you to listen to this sermon. There's a lesson for you to be learned, and your body behavior indicates to me that you're not paying attention. I need for you to pay attention. And if you don't, after church or later sometime, you and I will talk about this, or there will be a consequence. Okay?
Well, she's 21.
Well,
so at this point, I would just recommend.
No, so with a 21-year-old, it's so the conversation is slightly different. Sweetheart, I get it. You're an adult and you get to do what you want. However, I'm concerned when you appear to be doing something else at church when it looks like you should be paying attention. I'll tell you what, though, from now on, I'll keep to myself, okay? But I just want you to know, as your dad, okay, I'm kind of disappointed in your behavior. I know I can't control you. You get to do whatever you want, but I'm going to give you the feedback that I thought that maybe you understood that in this family about this kind of situation. I would hope to see different behavior from you. So you see how that works? You still get to be the dad. She still gets to be an adult, but that doesn't censor you from being allowed to say, I have thoughts about this behavior that I witnessed. I can't tell you what to do anymore. You're right. Okay. The other part about that, though, is how she responds to you. Okay. And again, my personal feeling is I don't think that kids should be allowed to be abusive to their parents. Just like my feeling is I'm not going to be abusive to my kids, verbally or emotionally or physically. So when if my child then says something back to me in a way that sounds disrespectful, I get to go, excuse me, time out. I get it. You're tired of me talking to you about this? Okay, so you're upset about that. Or maybe you think that I'm full of it, and you're kind of irritated at me, but the way that you've expressed that is not acceptable. So I'm going to ask you, please don't do that. Okay? See, to me, that's part of the job, the role of being a parent. And that starts from the time that they come here until certainly, well into their adulthood.
Until we die.
Yeah, that's what we get to weigh in on those things, Of course, when they're 30 and they come to you and say, I'm going to take all my money and do this, you can say, well, it's your money and you get to do that. If you're asking me, though, what my opinion is, then I'm going to tell you I'm worried about it. Okay? I think you have every right to do that as a parent. Okay? So,
I have oftentimes, in fact, my wife even says it. Oh yes, he apologizes when I've had these episodes of getting angry, and I'll come back later. She'll talk to me like, "I'm sorry, Benjamin. I didn't stay calm," and that's the main focus. Is you always have to stay calm, and she's able to do that.
Right.
And that's been a problem for me, and I think that's a lot of guys probably have a problem with that.
No, see, you're not the first dad who, I mean, actually, in some households, that is the language of the dad, okay? Is that, you know, a lot of men are often kind of in a shell, you know, as stuff is going on around them, and finally, either mom comes in and says, "Hey, Bill, would you say something to the kids?" And in that case, guess what you get? The big dog. Woof, 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 woof.
Yeah.
You guys stop it, okay?
Yes.
And kids kind of understand that, okay? They may not always like it, but that's what they get. Or what happens is he gets irritated and says, "What's going on here? Martha, what's going on here?" Okay? That happens in a lot of households. I don't necessarily think it's the best way to relate, but, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say, you know, lives are being shattered that way, unless, of course, you have kids who are, or spouses who are saying, you know, it really is hurtful when you talk to us like this, okay? Yeah, then I think you need to pay attention to that, because it's probably not the best way to get people's attention and to talk to them, to convey what your concerns are. So if that's been you to some extent, then yes, that's something that I think we should look at, and I can help you with, okay? Is that a deal breaker in a relationship? I don't know your wife, so I can't answer that question.
It's up to her.
But, you know, a lot of couples have gone through this, and, you know, I don't know if you know this, but one of the things that I specialize in is males. I've had a lot of, you know, guys come to me because their wives have said, you know, he seems like he's so angry all the time or unhappy, and so, you know, they come and spend some time with me and we talk about what's going on. And usually what I hear from them is, yeah, she doesn't like the way that I talk to the kids or how I talk to her, or I seem to be disinterested, and we work on that, okay? That doesn't always break a relationship.
No.
You know, some women, if they start to see the change, but more importantly, if the two of them start to feel like their relationship is healing and it's improving, of course, that's the best outcome. So
I wish I'd come and seen you in May instead of that woman.
Well, you're here now, and so hopefully,
this is
do you know, is your wife talking about wanting to get divorced?
No, it's not an option. She's a committed Christian.
Okay.
But she wants me to wait until... See, I spent six days out of the house in solitary confinement. Right. And I did send emails, and then, so she was gone for 2 weeks. Yeah. And I told her she's staying away from, you know, and I wasn't going... I knew she was going to church here in Chelsea. They made me swear not to come near her on church property.
You know, with all due respect to the church elders, I'm sure that they're really good people. Their hearts are in the right places. They're very devout Christian people.
They just think I'm a lunatic.
Well, I think that their insight and their understanding about marital relationships may be a little lacking, okay? Because here's what I mean by that. There is no magic timetable in terms of how long you should be away before, ding, it's like not putting bread in the oven and knowing when the timer goes off, it's done, okay? That's not how relationships heal themselves. You know, sometimes in some relationships, one or both of the couples may need to spend some time apart, okay? And sometimes it's a week. Sometimes it's a couple of days. Sometimes it's months. Okay, but that depends on what's going on between the two of them. There is no magic time. So here's what I'm getting at: is how will you know when it will be okay for or how will your wife know when it'll be okay for her to come back and join you in the home?
Well, now, before, like when I was just out, that's it. If no contact, how is she going to know? And the therapist I was seeing in Rochester Hills, she'll know. We've had with no contact. She'll know. She'll know. Well,
But what about now?
Yeah, and it was why I said we should be meeting every week. And she's like, no contact, because she knows as soon as we go see a therapist together, he's gonna be like, well, Michael's willing to do whatever you want, and then she'll have to agree to me coming back in. Michelle Wolf is telling him he's got this freaking disorder. it's going to take him months, maybe years. Because
Okay.
after that first week when I came back,
Okay.
Paul Tachek, one of the elders,
Mm-hmm.
he said, Mike, you ought to think about maybe getting some sort of semi-permanent place to live. And I went, what?
Okay.
Are you out of your
So
mind?
here's the other thing that I want to say about
So
this.
things are going on that I don't know.
Michael, so here's the other thing. Even if, let's say it's true that you have borderline personality disorder, I have worked with people who have that condition, okay? And they lived with their mothers and their fathers and their husbands and their boyfriends and their girlfriends, and they lived with people while dealing with this disorder,
Yeah.
okay? So let me ask you some other questions.
Yes, sir.
So let me do a little bit of investigating here. Have you ever cut yourself?
No.
You know what cutting is?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so
I've
it's
heard
where
girls
people
do
tend
it.
to make superficial cuts on themselves. Oftentimes they do it in their thighs
I
where
hate
they
pain.
can't see.
I hate
Okay.
pain. I'd cry.
Okay, so how about this? Have you
Not literally.
Have you ever thought about wanting to harm yourself?
I have had over the last through this episode.
Okay.
With how bad it is.
Sure.
I've thought, man,
You've
it might
thought,
be just
okay.
easier to check out.
Okay.
But
Have
I
you-
thought,
have you-
I thought.
So.
Now I thought,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, it's coming because I'm
Sure.
in physical pain.
Yeah, you're
Here's
right.
another weird
Yeah.
thing. When I was a sales guy,
Mm-hmm.
I would wake up at 4 a.m. and my heart was going like 90
Sure.
beats a minute.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Yep.
that has been back.
Mm-hmm.
I go to sleep at midnight.
Yeah.
I get up at 4:30
Yeah,
in the morning.
that's high anxiety. So let me ask you this. So even though you've thought about, you say checking out, have you thought about a specific way to do it?
Well, no, I don't have the means. Well,
Okay.
and like my wife was reacting real badly to me. Like she'd get in this, when we're arguing, and I'm like, man, and so
You mean, is she crying? Is that
no,
what okay.
well, just like,
Okay, so she's
it's hard to
yelling at
describe. Not yelling. It sounds like that. She's getting upset.
Okay.
And this was going on for like a week when we were talking, maybe back in March or February. March, and it was very early spring, and I was in the Navy for 6 years. I was on
Okay.
submarines for 2.
Oh, wow.
We had to shoot 45s. I had to
Yep,
take
yep.
practice, and we shot shotguns. So 99, just in case things went bad, I bought a .357 Magnum revolver, and I have a gun safe. And keep it locked up. It's easy because then my wife could shoot it. It's a snub-nosed bodyguard special. Doesn't even have a hammer or a safety.
Yep.
And I've shot it at a range a few times. And then I have a couple 12-gauge shotguns that are pistol grips like the kind we had. I've never shot them. And then a few years ago, I took the boys hunting. So I bought a Mossberg shotgun.
12-gauge.
Yeah, with a scope. If you, and then I bought a spring recoil one. When you do that scope, it goes bong. I had to get 3 stitches.
Yeah, you get a sniper's rifle.
I got rid of that and put the stock barrel back on. But I'm like, I am feeling really bad.
Okay.
This is really depressing having this. And so I grabbed my guns and I drove over to the pastor's house and I said, here, you take them. I'm going to sell them. I don't want them.
Okay.
So
good.
he has them. I don't have them.
Okay, so you don't have.
Yeah, and that was back in, no, don't even.
Okay,
And I
so
don't want
great.
them back.
So
And so
you
but I
think
have
about-
thought in certain times, but I thought
Okay.
this
So how
this
about
is
in the
stupid.
past when you were
No.
younger?
No.
You make any attempts
No.
to harm yourself? Okay.
I was out
So-
living it up and having a party.
Okay.
all the time. I was converted when I was 22.
Okay.
And then devoted my life to
Right.
reading the Bible and becoming a committed Christian.
Okay.
And I was married when I was just turned 25.
Okay. All right. And you're how old now?
48. Just turned
Okay.
48.
All right.
Loneliest birthday I ever had.
Okay. So this whole time that you and your wife have been married, what's it been like between the two of you? Lots of friction.
Times
some
of friction. Early on, she was quite angry, and she even talked about this in her first recording. There was Michelle Wolf. She goes, "Oh yeah, I used to be very angry with him if I wasn't home for dinner on time or dinner with the kids because I'd be working late." And she goes, "But then I realized, I'm just this nagging, angry wife, and so that's not doing any good. He's not enticed to come home. We, because we had Grace, and then 2 years later Joshua, and then a year and 3/4 later Benjamin. So that's a tight." And so she was stressed. And then we were talking a little bit more, and then she says, "Well, why did you stop standing up for yourself?" Referring to the anger. And that's on the tape. And then, but when my anger, I'm an abusive husband. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So a bit of that happened, but she does have a temper. And she,
So let
by
me
the way,
ask you-
she is a strong woman.
Okay.
She doesn't
so let
take
me ask
it.
you about this. So do you have other friends?
I have two friends from high school back in
Okay.
Colorado, and a friend from the Navy. He was best man at my wedding, and I
Okay.
was best man at his second wedding
Okay.
just here a few
All right.
years ago.
Okay.
And I have friends at church, guy
And
friends.
so what are those relationships like?
At church? Or
All
my
of them.
friends?
All of them.
With my
you know?
two friends from high school, because we used to sleep at each other's house, and we knew each other's parents, and they know what kind of life I've had. And great, we talk like you and I, but even closer. My friend out in my best man, we're in the same faith in Presbyterianism, and so we talk back and forth, and we have a great time. And he got his computer science degree, and he worked at MapQuest for a while, but.
So
Brilliant guy.
let me ask you this, because our time is winding down.
Yeah.
So, you graduated from high school? What year was that?
87.
Okay. And then did you immediately go into the Navy after
Yeah,
that?
I was actually signed up before my senior year,
Oh, okay.
which is a good thing because they
All right.
drug test
so,
you.
So then, yeah, okay. So
My
then,
whole senior year, I was
great,
clean.
Okay.
No marijuana.
So when you went into the Navy, how long were you in?
6 years.
Okay.
A year of
So-
electronic school and boot camp and
Okay.
then submarine school,
Okay.
and then 5 years. And I spent
Okay.
2 years on a sub, an
Okay.
attack sub in
Right.
Virginia,
Right.
and then 2.5 years in Charleston, South Carolina,
Okay.
and then that's where I was converted on
Okay.
that ship.
Okay.
During the
So
91
were
Gulf
you,
War.
by the time you left, were you petty officer?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I was immediately upon graduating
Yeah.
from electronic school.
Okay.
Oh, you know your
Yeah.
stuff.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So, and when you got out, honorable discharge?
Yes.
Okay. Ever have any problems in the Navy discipline-wise?
Yes.
Okay, like what?
When the submarine was surfaced and we had a small boat transfer, I was also a scuba diver. I'd been sent to 6 weeks of scuba
Okay.
school, which is very tough.
Right.
And there's only 3 of us who are scuba divers, and when we were doing that, if somebody falls in the water,
Right,
we need
you have
somebody
to go
surf.
get 'em.
Yeah.
Right, gotcha.
And so the guy who was scheduled to do that, he was the nuke reactor laboratory technician. He goes, I got something else to do. Could you do that? And I was standing the nav watch, and I didn't get properly relieved.
Okay.
And I went up there and did that.
Right.
And then the officer Dexter said, "Oh, Nav ET, can you do this?" And I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so I had left my post
Right.
without
Yeah,
being
right.
excused.
Well,
And so
that's
I got
true.
in trouble, went to captain's mess, but it was excused
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And my chief really yelled at me. This is really good. He goes, "You realize during time of war we could have shot you for being
Right.
post."
Right. 'Cause you left the post without time. Okay. So you went before the captain's table or the captain's mast,
Yep.
but it was dismissed.
Yes.
Right.
You're in the
Okay.
Navy?
No,
Okay.
but my son is in the military.
Okay, good. Yep.
And I read a lot of stuff about
Yeah.
it. So was that the one and only time?
Yeah.
Okay. Any issues with drinking or drugs?
Yes.
When?
With my new sales job, when I was traveling a lot, being in a
Okay.
hotel, I would start drinking.
How much?
Too much. I'd get drunk.
Okay. So
And-
how long did that go on for?
2 years.
2 years.
Few years.
A few years.
Yeah.
5 years, 6 years, 10 years.
Well, drinking, not always getting drunk, but drinking, yeah. I would have a few beers every night. And then
So tell me about the part where it was out of control. How long did that go on?
over a period of about 5 months,
Okay.
I got a DUI.
You did?
Yeah.
When was that?
2010.
Okay. So 2010, so
And
you had
then, well,
DUI.
I actually wasn't driving. I was in the car. I didn't know this
Okay.
is illegal. I was in the car
Yeah.
asleep.
Right.
So I got a
Yeah.
sleeping,
Yeah.
and the car was running.
And the car was running.
Yeah,
That's
and
what you
so
got
I was
to do.
staying
So
warm.
you
It was
got a
November,
DUI.
and
Okay.
then I was down in, and I got a second one 3 months later.
Okay.
I was down in Ohio, and I had a few drinks at the hotel, and I was driving around. And down in Ohio, the speed limit is only 65 instead of 75,
Right.
and so I got pulled over for speeding, not wavering, and I was over the limit.
Okay.
And so both of them were treated as firsts there,
Okay.
but then my
Right.
license was revoked for a
That's
year.
what I wanted to know.
Yeah,
For-
because
for
then
a
once the
year?
secretary for a
Okay.
year and a half.
So
And then I drove with a breathalyzer for 3.5 years.
Oh, okay.
And then I finally went, and I
Yeah.
figured I was going to attending AA meetings, and really took it seriously. And so then
So when did you have? Are you still drinking now?
no,
When did you have your last drink?
it was, I forgot that. I don't have a date.
More than a year?
What was it? It wasn't my last DUI,
Mm-hmm.
because I had a beer after that. So that would be July 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
Okay. So not through this whole period of the 67 days you weren't drinking then.
I've been living with Christian people on purpose
All right.
and talking with them.
Okay, so
And I let them know where I am.
So here's the thing. Alcohol may or may not be a problem for you. Most likely.
I don't have a desire for it. I didn't have a desire for it for many years.
Well, my suggestion would be that you probably should be very concerned about your use of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
That's why I abstain.
But in terms of, at least for now, you don't meet the criteria for borderline personality disorder,
I don't,
anger or not.
She said I don't have an adult side to myself.
I don't know what that means. Okay,
I'm emotionally arrested at 8 years old, I guess.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to denigrate the other therapists, but just so that you understand why I can say what I'm saying. I used to work for community mental health for 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And toward my last years there, I was the supervisor of the borderline personality disorder unit. Okay? So I trained therapists in how to do dialectical behavioral therapy.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So I know a little bit about it.
Yes.
I was trained by the person who developed dialectical behavioral therapy.
Okay.
Marsha Linehan.
Yeah.
I have attended trainings with Marsha. Okay.
So you're an expert.
Well, I know a fair amount about it. Okay.
Good.
And so right now, I'm not hearing things that would lead me to think that you have borderline personality disorder. Okay. Now maybe, Michael, you've had problems with your anger. I know that alcohol doesn't help a person make good decisions, but you've been clean and sober. If you're telling me the truth,
I wasn't drinking because I live at home.
Yeah, for
and my wife
several
doesn't
years,
drink,
okay?
and so
well,
she
but here's the thing about a person who may have an addiction disorder, is that there's a thing called a dry drunk.
Yes.
Okay? And what that is about, though, and you seem to be trying to address that, is that typically they are devoid of some sort of spiritual connection, which you seem to be trying to make or have a spiritual life through your church.
Diligently.
Okay? So, yes, have you made some poor decisions? Haven't we all? Okay? Are you having marital problems? Statistics tell us that at least 50% of us are going to get divorced. Okay?
We're not. I'm not. I'm
Full disclosure, I am. Okay? I got divorced. Wasn't happy about it. Okay? But those were the circumstances. Okay? So I know something about that too. Okay?
Wow.
Both sides.
That hurts.
Okay? I try to heal couple relationships.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm saying to you. Right now, the only diagnosis that I would render anybody is that you are experiencing increased anxiety right now, what I would call generalized anxiety. Mm-hmm. Are there other things lurking in the background? Maybe, okay? But I'm not prepared to make that announcement right now, and you'll be the first to know, by the way, all right? Do you have some significant issues going on? Yeah, you're trying to figure out how to pull your family back together. Okay.
From this acid woman.
Here's what I would say.
My wife is convinced that I am mentally ill.
Okay. Well.
And when I came in, I actually snuck back into the home Sunday when she went to church. I opened up the thing. She's researching cluster B disorders. She's this hysteristic or something.
Yeah,
and I'm like, and she's emailing them
histrionic.
Histrionic, and she emailed that to George up there and Michelle. Oh, he may have this because he does this and he likes to do this, and I'm like, she's not trying to focus on how we can get together.
With all due respect to your spouse, this is sort of like people going online and looking up glioblastoma, and it's a brain cancer, and you read a bunch of symptoms,
and then you got
and then you try to make a diagnosis. Okay, it could be informative to know about the symptoms, but what you do with that information is now you go to an expert and you say, I read this, and these are the symptoms that I'm having, so can you now evaluate me? Not you make a determination yourself and say that I have stage 4 cancer.
Yes.
Okay? And that's my concern about people who read psychology stuff or psych stuff and then render a determination, especially about someone else. And part of the reason why I say that is because I'm super careful before I want to render a label onto someone.
Yeah.
And so someone who doesn't have that training, I'm a little suspect about what they think may be going on with the person that they're concerned about. Now, to be fair to your wife, she knows you, she's lived with you, she's concerned about you. I would be happy to talk to her to find out what her thoughts are, her feelings, her observations are. But I'm the one who gets to make the diagnosis.
Yes.
Okay? And I hope I'm not coming off as pompous when I say that.
You are licensed.
Okay? Yes.
You're certified by the state.
Yeah. So as I sometimes say to my clients, you know, especially around stuff like that, I'm going to be a little shrinky right now. Okay? But guess what? I get to. Okay?
Yeah.
So I will say this about you. Again, repeating myself, Michael. Yes, I definitely feel that you are anxious. Probably even have some depression, okay? It doesn't look like it's overwhelming depression at this point, but I imagine that you have your low moments, okay? So, yeah. And by the way, I also know, because I've done this long enough, that often when a person has anxiety, depression is riding shotgun, okay? You can't have one without the other lingering. It's just a matter of which is the more prominent. And right now, it sounds like for you that the anxiety is the more prominent part than the depression. So it's there, but it's what I would call secondary, okay? In terms of other stuff, you know, except what I said to you about, you know, when I see a little furry animal with stripes on its back, okay, from a distance, I go, it could be a cat, or it could be a skunk. But I'm going to wait until I get close enough to see it, okay? With you, I'm pretty sure I'm not looking at somebody who has borderline personality disorder, okay? Now, as I say that, I'd have to wait until we spend a little bit more time together, hear more history from you. But unless you've just been fibbing, okay, which I don't think you have, I'm not seeing the telltale signs that would suggest that you would be somebody who most likely would have that disorder, okay? It presents itself slightly differently with men than it does with women, okay? Men tend to be a little bit more violent. Notice I'm trying to be careful. Tend to be, right? You haven't told me. That's why I asked you a lot about what happened to you in the Navy, because if you're on a boat with 100 and some odd guys, if you got borderline personality disorder, it's going to show up big time. Yeah,
because you're face to face.
Oh, you're going to get into so much trouble, because I know, especially aboard a ship, people have to know how to get along. Okay?
When you go in a hallway, you rub body to body.
Yes. But I'm also talking about people who are checking up on you. You have responsibilities. You have to go report to your officer. You have people reporting to you. Everybody's responsible for everybody else. And I know that you've experienced this. When you have someone in the Navy who can't get along with people, they stick out like a sore thumb. Everybody knows it, okay? And so far, you haven't told me that you've been the guy, okay, who was visited by a soap party. You know what I mean by that? Okay. So I'm suspecting that probably not so much. Okay? So the next thing I guess I want to address is, if you're interested, I would like to continue this dialogue to meet with you, and we'll see what happens.
Great.
Okay?
I would like to sign a form giving you permission to talk to my wife.
Okay. Would she expect me to call?
I will notify her.
Okay.
And I will give her your number.
Okay.
Also.
Right.
Wow, somebody with your expertise, I've hit the jackpot finally. For once in my life. Do you know Dr. Michelle Wolf?
You know,
she's in Ann Arbor on the east side.
No, I don't know.
Good.
Michelle Wolf.
Good.
But you know what? There may be a point at which I might want to talk to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will give you full permission.
Okay. So I'm looking for my forms folder. Informed consent. It's here somewhere.
I'm so sorry I had to work late on Friday. I wish I would have seen you Friday. This Sunday would have been very interesting with this information. Meeting with the elders. Because of course I moved in Tuesday. Ooh, we're gonna have finally we're gonna have a talk. We haven't had a talk in 2.5 months.
So tell me about your elders.
Okay. We have a guy who went to seminary. He's the main elder, the pastor.
Okay.
But the term in the New Testament is elder, overseer of the church. And
Right.
so then 4 other guys are ordained.
Right.
And they're all fathers, and so they rule the church as a team.
Okay. And what church is this?
Oakland Hills Community Church
Okay.
on 8 Mile Road in Farmington Hills.
Okay.
And Pastor Ralph Reban, he started the church 30 years ago,
Okay.
and he's the chaplain for the Farmington Hills Police Force. He's the chaplain for the Michigan State Police Association, State Police Chiefs Association.
Okay.
He's also like the chaplain for Beverly Hills and a couple other towns.
Mm-hmm.
And so he uses that to minister to the policemen, and that's a good thing because they go through a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually is a unique human being. He says he doesn't get angry at all, and his wife echoes that. She goes, "Yeah, he never gets angry.
Okay.
Never gets angry." He says, "Yeah, maybe once in my life I did."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so he can't really identify with me in that aspect. He doesn't know what it's like to walk in my shoes.
Yeah.
Unless he's lying, but I don't believe he is.
Well.
So he doesn't get upset. So so they are all siding with my wife. Oh yeah, and so this Sunday, because I moved in Tuesday, and and then my whole family scattered, they come to me and say, they pop this on me. Your daughter wants to go stay with Elder Tawchek, and she does this. She did this like a month and a half ago in Canada, in London, Ontario. Or not London, Stratford, near it. She wants to go stay, and if you love her, Mike, you will let her go. If you don't let her go, you're being controlling because she wants this, and you're going to damage your relationship.
How old is your daughter?
She just turned 13 in February.
Okay.
And so they look at me and go, Mike, if you don't do this, and they were all there. And there's one guy who's a urologist, Dr. Weigler, and Paul Tawchek, he's an airplane pilot, and these other guys are business people. Like, Michael, we are united. You are damaging your relationship unless you, and I know what's going to happen is she's going to go there and not come back. She'll be gone, and then I won't, because my main thing is, okay, I can't control my wife, but one thing is, my 13-year-old daughter needs me. I haven't seen her in 72 days, and when I left, our relationship was great. Somehow she learned something or was told something and overheard something, and you shouldn't allow a child's relationship to a parent to be damaged. So now she's afraid. Well, because like I said, the first Sunday she said, "You're sick, Dad. If you got a dad that's sick, you're not going to feel safe around him." And like I said, I'm the dad who hugged her and kissed her every night. I would take her to go skiing trips up in Cabernet, alone.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I would.
I'm really hurt by that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm out of ink right now.
Okay.
So I'll print it off at home and bring it.
Okay. If you email it, I'll scan it and send it to you.
Oh,
I got my email there.
Do you have
Traveler
email address?
USA 69. I was born in 69.
Okay.
At gmail.com.
All right.
Traveler
Okay,
USA.
sure. I'll do that.
And I'll sign it and I'll
I'll
scan
send
it back to you.
I'll send it to
You're a lifesaver.
you. I'm just trying to do my job.
Good.
Okay. Hopefully I'll be able to help.
Good.
Yeah. My comment about your daughter. So her mother, I'm assuming she's okay with this trip?
I am not.
No, but her mother's
Oh,
okay
of course.
with
Oh,
this
yeah, she
trip.
is.
Okay.
Because she wants
Okay.
her, because that's the only thing I want.
And so
She's going to be served papers tomorrow morning, and we have a court date on the 16th. My wife
Okay.
doesn't know about this, and that's another thing I want to ask you about. Because the lawyer says, this is wrong. I've seen child psychologists for like 26 years, this is damaging. She needs to be in the family home, and she needs to reestablish a relationship with you, and this is bad. And so then the judge, hopefully from this hearing, he didn't grant it automatically. From this hearing, will say she needs to go back to the family home, and he'd be given extra time because he was away for 2.5 months.
Yeah, my concern though about that is that the way that this is going to happen is that unfortunately it could really poison the water between you and your daughter. Okay, I agree with you.
My wife will come back home too.
Okay.
Obviously.
Well,
and so then
yeah.
but it'll be.
Well, hopefully, if you're, that may be, that certainly is an important factor.
And the elders would then start working with me and saying, okay, we will meet, because right now they're refusing because I'm being hard-nosed. And I say, okay, now will you work with Melody?
Well, but I'm going to suggest this, though, that maybe that you're not so anxious to start, because I think I mentioned this to you before. One of the things that can happen to couples who want to jump into couples therapy is that if you're not ready yet, if you don't have the tools, okay, that can be a problem. Now, couples therapy, one of the focuses of couples therapy is to help couples develop the tools to be able to constructively manage conflict, okay? But there's that initial period where people have very intense feelings. And so you often need to have somebody there who can manage that so that you minimize the damage that you can do. See, so often what happens is couples, and I know because I presided over them, I'd like to think I've gotten better about it, but often initially when couples get into couples therapy, they're just like hurling bombs at each other. And here's the problem with that, is that people say things and you can't unring that bell.
Right, I understand. I am, at this point, I am delighted to be like Abraham Lincoln in his second inaugural address, with malice towards none and charity towards all. I am not. I don't want to hold resentments. And I want to hear what she's saying, and I want to hear it.
That's good.
I want to hear her words. I'm committed to that.
Yeah. All right. Well, so let's go ahead and set up.
So that will obviously motivate her to say, "Wow," and then she's going to obviously get a lawyer. But he said, "No, we're not going to lose this."
The thing is that so this is in Washington County. Yeah, you may. The judge may recommend that your daughter is seen by the friend of the court.
Yep. So, and then she's not going to want to see me. So then what's going to happen?
Yeah. Well, she's 13,
right?
So
and that's
she
what the
doesn't
lawyer
necessarily
said.
get to make that decision.
That's right.
If she were 15, that might be different.
And I can show proof that on June 2nd she wanted to go do something with me.
Okay. So. So let's look at for your next appointment time.
Okay. This week. Okay. Anytime this week you want.
Well, so then let's make it Friday again.
Okay.
Okay. At 5 o'clock.
5 p.m. Can we go later? I'm in Farmington Hills.
Oh. Well, the latest I can go is 6.
Okay. No Wednesday available?
No, my Wednesday 6 o'clock is taken.
Okay. Could I then also schedule one after that, like Monday, 6?
Well, let me look at my schedule, because that may be...
What is the date? So Friday's the 11th, Monday's the 14th. Oh, dummy, no it's not. Right.
So Monday the 14th at 6 p.m.
I will do that. Monday at 6 p.m. Can we do Wednesday or Friday?
Again, those times are taken. Let's
or Tuesday or Thursday.
No, let's hold off, and we will schedule. When I see you on Friday, we'll look at the.
since this is very important, I want to make sure it's in the schedule. Then I can rearrange other things around. I have nothing else going on except for court on the 14th, 14th or 16th. He said, and that'll be in the morning or sometime during the day. Hallelujah. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, tomorrow's going to be a big day with doing that. And just because she's in the home, I'm not going to say, oh, and I'll drag her in the car. I'm not going to be that way, not at all. It'll then be, okay, maybe, do you know a good child psychologist that can be part of this, if it does come to that?
I know somebody who works with kids.
Okay.
I work with kids too, but I wouldn't in this case.
Right.
Because working with
Separate,
youth.
yeah.
But I know someone. But let's hold off on that, okay?
On scheduling that until...
Because here's the thing. Kids... not all kids have to see a therapist when their parents are having problems.
Right.
It depends on how their parents relate to each other.
I want her to not be afraid of me. She's heard stuff, and that's
yeah.
it.
Well,
now she's
see,
like,
so
she's
here's
like
the
that.
thing. Therapy, for her, I'm not sure that that's the right
Okay.
thing. I think she needs to see how you and your wife relate to each other.
Okay.
Your daughter doesn't want to be afraid of you.
Right.
Okay? She wants to be able to love her dad, be happy with her dad, and so she needs to see what happens between mom and dad. If that gets healed, if that gets repaired, it's being repaired, she'll probably respond in kind. Okay, so let's...
One other thing for this for borderline personality disorder, last February, our son Benjamin, he goes to ECA. I was having a disagreement with him, and it was an hour and a half before he needed to go to work. He works at Chipotle, 45 minutes away. And he goes, well, I gotta go to work, I'm out of here. And he grabs the keys, which is my car, right? Grabs the keys and he starts headed towards the door. I ran and I grabbed him to wrestle the keys from him. We fell over, fell down the front porch. It's 3 steps and he got hurt.
Okay.
That is the first time, and that is the last time, and that is the only time we've been physical. And we wrestled, and he outweighs me by 30 pounds. It was actually really stupid, because then he got on top of me, and he's laying on me with his forearm, choking me. And I said, please get off. And so then he got up, and he was mad. But I then, after that, said, I am sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have touched you. I was mad because you were grabbing the keys.
Right.
Does that make me...
No.
Okay.
And the fact that you recognize what you did. See, here's the thing. Who among us is perfect? There are no perfect parents. There are no perfect sons. There are no perfect neighbors.
Yeah.
So sometimes we really overstep or engage in behavior that upon reflection we go, wow, I should not have done that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a
well,
pattern.
What's the important thing to do?
Apologize.
To apologize, and then to recommit yourself and say, I'm never going to respond that way again.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not going to react if you take the keys. Yeah. Okay? It's my car.
Yeah.
And you're my son.
Yeah.
And you didn't ask for permission.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not going to tackle you, but I might say something to you like, please hand me the keys.
Yes.
You don't have permission to take my car. And if you do, I'm calling the local law enforcement.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, but you don't have permission to use my car. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. By the way, here's the form. The printer decided to
Patient's name, Michael.
cop it up.
Scott. Hopefully green ink's okay.
Actually, here.
I have a black one.
Okay.
Do I have to sign it again? Or write it my name? I'll write it above it, or...
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. 7/11/69. So I had a birthday. They didn't even call me. I got a birthday card. They handed it to people at church to give me. No call. Father's Day, no contact. Thought, man, this is freaking evil. I'm giving you permission to talk to 1, 2, 3, 4 people. My wife, my pastor, the counselor in Rochester Hills. I've seen like 15 times. I was going to see him twice a week.
We have to do this differently.
Okay.
Okay. Because I think I need the.
I can write it on an attached piece of paper, address.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Yep, I'll do that.
So if you do that, I'll need, and then we can just add it to it. Yeah,
Yep.
I need the addresses for all of those people.
So my wife, I don't know where
So
she's
here's the
living.
thing: take that with you and
Okay,
bring it back.
and they'll scan it to you.
Okay.
Can I email it to you? Do you have a card?
Yeah, I do.
Because I'm hoping they might contact you now because things are have blown up. I will email that to you within the hour.
It's on there.
Yep,
Sadie
at the
Wallace
bottom.
at.
Yep, Gmail.
Yep.
Good. All right, I will do that.
Okay. And
You just made a friend for life. You're gonna get a Christmas card.
so, oh yeah. So you don't have a deductible, and you don't have a copay.
Yeah.
So
It's expensive insurance.
Yeah.
I pay $900 a month
yeah.
for a family.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're a nice guy.
I try.
See you Friday.
Yep. Take care. Have a good evening.
I will now.
Okay.
I'm on. I went and saw a doctor at the Chelsea U of M clinic and told her about my chest pains for the last 50 days, and so she gave me a prescription for Zoloft.
Right.
So last night was my second night,
Yeah.
and
Are you thinking 50 or 100?
I don't know. She said one for
Step in here.
one for
Just for
this
a
week,
minute.
yeah, one for this week, and then starting
I know
in a
what
week,
you're talking
yeah,
about.
drugs
Step
outside,
there.
and then after 7 days I take 2.
Okay, so you're taking 50 and then you'll bump it up to 100.
Yeah, and she got a bunch of pills in there. And because she had given me this prescription for something to raise my serotonin, and it makes me kind of drunk, but it doesn't last. I still wake up at 4 in the morning. You know, she
Right.
goes, take this to go to sleep,
Yeah.
and so
Okay.
I'm doing both.
So here's one of the things that we're going to do here.
Okay.
Is I'm going to teach you some relaxation breathing.
Good.
Okay, to use before you go to sleep and when you wake up first thing in the morning, and something to do like midday.
Okay.
Okay, because that will help to relieve anxiety.
Good.
Okay, and it will certainly relax you at that time.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
right.
That's right. You're a hypnotist.
Pardon?
You
I'm a hypnotherapist as well, but
Yeah.
this is actually just regular therapist stuff for people who have anxiety.
I've been with a different therapist I saw in Farmington Hills, the vagus nerve.
Right.
And when you get the fight or flight, you get all tense, and that can make it. And she goes, you have to relax. So like do a wet noodle where you just relax, or the breathing in with the mouth, out with like that. You
I'm
push
going
the
to
stomach.
teach you the breathing technique that really bypasses your conscious mind and goes right to your autonomic system, which then, if you do the breathing, you will relax.
Hallelujah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay? Sure. All right.
Should I continue with the medication?
I can't make that decision
Okay.
for you. That's between you and your
I've never
physician.
experienced
Okay.
taking stuff.
Well, we can talk about how you feel while you're on it, and then we can talk about what you do when you go talk to your doctor the next time you see that person.
I have no scheduled visit.
Okay.
She was very nice.
Yeah.
And I told her about no contact and hugging her, and at the end she goes, give me a hug. And I'm like, you're a great doctor. She actually wasn't a doctor, she was a physician assistant.
PA?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a great girl. See you.